Crypto Twitter gangs, welcome.
Hi, let's give our speaker a round of applause. Hi, everyone. This is Belinda again. You have been seeing me throughout the day. I kind of squeezed myself into this panel because I have the privilege to be an organizer. So this panel is Crypto Twitter gang, right? And then we select our influencer friends, I would say opinion leaders in the crypto Twitter space, and they all have a big following, like, 100K, 50K, 50K, right? And then Cat, in the distance, we have 200K, something like that. They are all very influential on Twitter, and they have been also trendsetters, in the I would say crypto Twitter space. So yeah, let's start by having our panelists to introduce their background and also their endeavors in the crypto space. We will start with Hog.
Hi, my name is Bainey, or Hedgehog on Twitter. I founded Fisher8 in 2020, started as a proprietary trading firm. These days, it's more of a family office that I run with my brother. We still mostly do trading. We also do some investing and incubation. We have 2 offices in Singapore and Dubai, 25 employees, and yeah.
Amazing.
Hey guys, my name is Zahir. I run Split Capital. It's a liquid fund. Before this, I was a portfolio manager at Ledger Prime. Been in the space now for about 7 years. Know these two quite well. Work with them pretty closely. It's always funny hearing, myself become an influencer or some sort of KOL or something. I totally don't think of myself like that, and you can hear CL laughing in the background actually, because he also agrees. But yeah, I think after seeing the space just rot with fraud year after year and just surviving, it just creates a different dynamic. So.
Amazing. Jody? Yeah.
Hey guys, I'm Jordy. I'm the founder of Selene. It's a 45 person investment firm and trading firm, market maker. I'm also closely advising Mantle. So we've been building out the L2 for about a year now. Ex-poker player. Semi-degen, semi-not degen, depends who you ask.
Sounds good. And Kat, feel free to do an intro yourself.
Hello. She didn't prepare for an intro, but I used to trade more. I used to be a degen, but now I just invest through Ego Capital. Much less in touch with the market, but still got to catch up so I can shit post about what's going on. Yeah, excited to discuss whatever.
Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you, our panelists. So yeah, each of you actually, I would say, likely have your own investment method, and all of you have been either in the form of angel investing or investing through an entity, or also LPing into other funds, right? So what is your investment method? It's a broad question, but I would love to learn, individually, how do you usually invest? Maybe we'll start with Bainey first.
I think roughly these days we probably all invest pretty similarly, but I think what's important is the thought process behind it. DJ Spartan has a pretty good tweet about how after you graduate you have only a few years to hyper gamble your way to elite status. That was pretty true for me back in 2017. Probably gone broke twice trying to do that, but you're still young. So, everything, I think people overestimate how many times you need to be right to really make it. You only need to be right twice probably. For me, it was 2020 buying Bitcoin at around 4K, and then the DeFi run. And I think we've, even though we've grown bigger as a firm, we've held on to the same principles. And our most recent way of making this bet was by incubating Shuffle.com. Just noticing that there, was a hole in the space in the GambleFi space, and there was nothing that was investable. So we did the math and we said, this costs X amount of money to make. That's basically like writing a massive angel check. So the same principles that apply. Obviously, these days, with the amount of capital that we have, we cannot hyper gamble anymore and, go broke and still be okay about it, but we can still limit our risk and, calculate the upside. And, by having the same principles, we can still make extraordinary returns through, investments that other firms may not necessarily make.
Understood. So would you say it's more concentrated bets?
No, I would say, look, in the grand scheme of things, we're probably a lot less risk on than we were before. But yeah, it would be a lot more concentrated bets. For example, in late 21, early 22, we were very bullish on NFTs, but NFT infrastructure. So we didn't know exactly which NFTs would go up, but we knew a lot of volume would get done through NFTs. So then I think we wrote like 4 or 5 checks, Blur, Gem, Looks Rare, Fractional, Oh Baby Games. So we did like a very concentrated bet there as well. Mm-hmm. And then, obviously most recently we've done a concentrated bet on Gamblefy. So yeah, it's more concentrated bets, but as a percentage of our portfolio, it's a lot less than what I was doing back in 2017, 2018, 2019 when I was first getting started. I guess the theme is to have conviction. It's very important to have conviction. So we only do invest in things that we have conviction in.
Conviction, right.
Can I ask, how much does it help you being a trader and having, had a team of traders, and then you guys are building something, even if it's, a Gamblefy product, which is similar. Has it helped you having those years of experience in the building side, like in the marketing or in the tokenomics, or where does it help to have that background?
I think from the shuffle side, especially, what helped, user experience. Rest in peace, but FTX was our favorite exchange to trade on. That user experience was amazing, too good. So having those experiences, really helped. And I think from the analyst side especially, because we're day in, day out looking at different tokenomics, different teams. When we came to having to develop our own tokenomics for Shuffle, it was, we knew the market, right? And we knew what people were doing and how we could improve on that, so to speak. So yeah, it did help a lot in those ways.
Nice. Disclaimer, Sharding Capital is the investor of Shuffle and marketing partner as well. So Zahir, what's your investment method? Are you similar or you're gambling your money?
Yeah, we're not big on Gamblefy, actually, even though Bainey's a very good friend, for a totally separate reason. But our investment method is, again, as Bainey said, quite similar to this panel. I have to applaud you on picking this panel, not for myself, but for the other 3 panelists that you have. They're truly phenomenal traders and investors in the space. And I think it's very underrated how important it is to, be around still after many years of being in this space. Mm-hmm. And I've learned this from Hedgehog. I've learned this from Jordy and his posts back in early 2020 and 21, and obviously from CL, is probably my oldest friend on this panel and one of my oldest friends in the space. But our strategy, especially as a liquid fund, we very intentionally launched a liquid fund this year because we think that liquid, even if it's a direct, kind of competitor, it's the only kind of way that we think markets are going to move forward in crypto. And that kind of shapes our entire investment philosophy, because in crypto, if you're running a venture fund or a liquid fund or whatever kind of investment vehicle, it all kind of converges to be the same. You're seeing, any kind of venture project go from, maybe in the traditional space, 5 to 10 years of needing liquidity on the investment, now to crypto being, 18 months, and there's a token live, and then you have to manage a token, and then that sort of thing. So for us, it's always been about understanding which way the market's moving, and the market's moving towards liquid. So that's how we think about the space pretty broadly. And then in addition to that, I think there's obviously other people who trade and invest in liquid tokens, but really what matters is just being able to stick around if you're in a growth asset class. So for us, this kind of looks like You know, if we're optimistic on crypto, we don't need to be extremely, you know, levered on this bet, right? And we can recreate that risk elsewhere. But really, what matters is when you have these peak to trough moves like you had in the last, you know, couple of days. Are you gonna go bust? Are you gonna, or are you gonna stick around and able to kind of make the most of it? And that's where we really kind of thrive.
Resilience, right? Yeah, love that. So I similar question for Jordi, right? Then what are the factors you consider when you invest?
Yeah, I mean, I invest in all kinds of categories, and also I would say, you know, when you're building a firm, you're investing in people. You know, you're hiring during the bear market. Like that was probably like the biggest investment that I've made that's been paying out really well, because, you know, like a year ago, everything was quiet, there wasn't a lot of money flowing in, and, you know, I just decided that, you know, with Selene, we were just gonna kind of make a bet that this next cycle would come. And it was so hard to hire during the bull market last time. Like everybody was already, you know, situated somewhere and, you know, just waiting for their bonuses. But it was a lot easier last year because, you know, everybody was reevaluating where they were, everything. A lot of things got shut down. So a big bet there. And I always look for asymmetric risk reward, and there's so much opportunity for that in the space. You know, we see it not just like in liquid prices, sometimes in venture bets. You get to, you know, meet a founder early on, and it's pretty clear like asymmetric upside there. And, you know, try to be pretty aggressive on the sizing. You know, I'm a poker player, and I kind of follow the Kelly criterion. So the more edge you have, the more you kind of press it, and thankfully it's gone well.
Love that, yeah. So, Kat, what's your investment method these days?
I don't do angel investing really, or I try not to. Mainly because I kind of have other goals for my brand. But I can speak for Headquartered Capital and maybe my personal trading in the past. So when I used to trade, I mainly did Bitcoin and Ether, almost only in Bitcoin. And that was pretty helpful because I feel like you kind of get a pretty good overview of the entire market, even if you don't dabble in alts too much. So I feel like higher time frames, you can be pretty how do you say, like you can position I have positioned pretty well, at least in the long time frame, just from my experience in dealing with Bitcoin. And for Eagle's investments, we've been always very low risk, and we've not done too much investments. We try to be very selective, mainly because we have a very big following, and I don't want like this big group of like accounts that's probably got like a aggregate of like 1 million or so following and a lot of like mindshare to push the space into like very weird directions or anything. So yeah, we've been very aware of our like brand reach. So we've been very cautious on what we like put our money into. Yeah.
And
so yeah, but yeah, that's ultimately probably not the best EV for us. But on the plus side, when we do finally commit to an investment, we usually are able to ask for bigger allocations in it. So that's like the advantage of not being quite selective, I guess. Yeah.
I love it. Keeping the brand sanity is I would say undervalued in the space, the crypto space, because there's so many speculators. So people always ask, oh, do you want to make money or do you want to be right? And then a lot of people say, I want to make money, right? So I really appreciate that, you know, having, like also similar like concentrated bets, but also, you want to invest into a project that, you know, in 5 years, you can still be proud and say, we are investor of this project, we support them, you know, from early days, not some random shitty project that you can make money, you know, in the first tranche release. but then they rug or they just slow rug the community. So yeah, I really appreciate that. And then I think like all the panelists on stage are practicing similar like a principle, I would say. And then there are so many, actually, I would say, alphas on Twitter, right? We are all on Twitter every day. And it's like a gold mine. It has a lot of noise, but also a lot of alpha. So I want to ask our panelists, right? How do you find alpha on Twitter? Do you try to find alpha on Twitter? If you do, then how do you find these alphas? Maybe we can start with Kat. Do you try to find alpha or just shitposting every day?
Not really. But when I used to trade, I do take I do keep in mind of others' opinions, especially ones I do respect. But I've never followed anyone or into anyone's trades just because usually they might have some reason, or they may get into a trade and like talk about it on Twitter, but like they may not like fully explain why they took the position, and you don't really know how much conviction they have, nor how much sizing they have relative to their like portfolio or anything, right? So like you could follow the bet, and then like the price could go against you, and you could fold, right? And then but the other guy could have like a very high conviction, and he holds the position, and it eventually goes up, and he's right. So I feel like taking other people's trades are usually not something I have done. Yeah, and for like general alpha, I think maybe the only useful information for me is learning about like the basics of blockchain. Like someone was explaining why Solana actually like kind of went down, or not necessarily down. It was just like no one could really like get their transaction through like 2 weeks ago, or like yeah, just these information helps me more maybe. And I'm not really a news trader either, just because I trade on like the retail interface. So I'm not gonna like try to compete against algos or anything.
CL is just trying to
but
buy
I do
hyperliquid
think-
points. Yeah, that's the focus of CL.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm pretty bullish on hyperliquid. But unfortunately, I don't think any of us have enough points to. Yeah.
Cool stuff. Yeah. So to steal what Kat just said, right? Actually, probably yeah. You use like Twitter for more informational purpose, like educating himself, like because some other people gather information from what they see, right? For example, why they are bullish on Solana ecosystem, or why like the actual stats of ETF inflows, etc. Then we can make more informed decisions when it comes to trading. And then yeah, like no following others, but I guess sometimes you can use some people as counter trading signals. So that's also one way of actually using Twitter.
Oh yeah, definitely. I usually counter trade like Jordy and
Nice. Jody, so how do you find alpha? Do you counter trade cats or?
Like I find it. There's so much alpha on Twitter. I mean, I wish I could had time to just scroll it all day. I actually don't follow any traders, so I'm following. You can see how I follow like not that many people. I don't like to have a lot of noise, and I try to curate the noise to signal ratio. And it's alpha like in mainly 3 ways. One is trends. You can really like know the top of the informational funnel before it all goes all the way through, and then the YouTubers are talking about it. Like, it always usually starts on Twitter. And those of us who are kind of obsessed with crypto Twitter, I think have benefited massively knowing, what everybody else is going to be talking about in 3 months.
The flow, right?
Yeah, like if you see like, 2, 3, 4, 5 people you respect talking about, ordinals or whatever it was, right? Like early, then you kind of have a sense of what this is earlier. You know, the other way, obviously, when you're looking at crypto Twitter, you see the personalities of people. Sometimes they're founders that you might invest in, and then they're talking about, you know, snorting cocaine or other stuff, and then you kind of, anyway, let's not get into that.
Bro just realized he's in Dubai.
Yeah. Yeah, and then finally, I think, you know, you can actually talk to people, interact with people, and I can ask Anatoly, like, hey, like, why is Solana, you know, are you thinking of Solana as money? And then we start getting into some debate, and I can actually kind of dive in and see at the core things that, you know, if you're just reading a white paper or watching an interview, you can't do that interactive side.
Yeah. So here, anything you want to share on this? Finding alpha on Twitter?
Yeah, I would probably disagree in that I don't think there's really, like, I don't think there's much edge on Twitter.
That's still my answer.
Yeah, there's. I love the delayed laugh, by the way. But no, I really don't think there's a lot of alpha on Twitter. Mostly because I think what CL said is pretty accurate. I would say, having been on crypto Twitter now for 6-7 years, I've seen it go from a space where it was like random accounts trying to make a following that would find things that were niche, into now like prepackaged kind of like shill narratives, which I like obviously don't participate in. And to what Jordy said, I think it's like really easy to, like once you're in the space and like kind of investing in a professional level, the more you kind of consume information online, the more it kind of just works against you. So I find that it's pretty acidic sometimes if I read like the timeline, because it'll change my perception a little bit, so even subconsciously, versus like my higher conviction take on some asset or protocol or whatever it is. And to what CL said too, right? Like you just don't want to be in a position where you're following someone else's kind of mandate or trajectory or whatever. I mean, we even have like nowadays, like foundations are paying people to tweet about things, right? So who knows what is actually happening at the same time? So it's not an interesting thing really. And you know, the number one motto we have internally for our team, and what I would tell other people is, you cannot outsource conviction. If you don't have it internally, then your position will show, and then especially in the liquid market, like once markets start moving against you, that's how you start losing a lot of money. And every single time.
But, I mean, you talk about like crypto as if you can have conviction without the social layer, and I feel like so much of crypto is just related to the culture, and it sort of feeds on itself and creates itself.
Sure.
And I just feel like, you know, just to defend Twitter a little bit, I think that it's such a strong source of culture, much more than you know, Telegram or you know, YouTube or maybe Discord is a good one, but you know, Discord, everyone's in their own communities, and you don't have this like splash. But there's a lot of noise.
I mean, yeah, I use Twitter all the time, right? It's like the number one place for news and information and that kind of thing. But I meant more so from like following investment advice from other people, that kind of thing. So generally, it's like pretty, like I think it's gotten deteriorated over time, especially in a bull market. It gets even kind of worse for following just pure, you know, investment decision making. But I would say for information and kind of following trends and things like that, it's definitely more interesting. Yeah, that's kind of how we view it, and I think ultimately, especially being in liquid markets, it just makes things way more dicey because you're seeing kind of narrative move very, very quickly nowadays.
Agreed. Like for me, like crypto Twitter is a great place to get information, but also to release information. So the way I get information is like categorize like the people I follow into different categories. Like some of them are like early gem finders. Like so they don't really do paid shows. You know, they just discover what they find interesting. They do like their on-chain forensics, they do their research, and then they were like, oh, this is interesting, etc. And then those people you can follow and see, you know, if you can do something with it. And some people are like, you know, like Top Signal. When they tweet about something, oh, I'm entering Friendtech. And I was like, okay, that's probably the, you know, like the highest point for everyone's key during that time. Because they always get like, they always become the exit liquidity for others. Then those people I just consider is like, you know, the top signal. But yeah, I think crypto Twitter is a great place. And then for me, I feel like we also need to see it as a marketing ground because, like what Zahir mentioned, like now everyone's post, especially in the bull market, is highly incentivized and motivated. You know, behind every post, they must have this bag or they must don't have this bag, and then they are shitting on this one or they are promoting on that one. So, like try to understand the intention behind the certain post and like certain drive. Then you also understand, you know, what do you want to do with that, and then because there's so many different category of people and channels to use for information, then it's a great marketing ground because, you know, sometimes the information needs to get out. It's like factual, it's statement about certain project, then you can just use it to, you know, release. So there's more mind share that certain project or certain narrative can get from the audience. So I would say that's the way I see alpha is that, you know, you can create alpha, you can create a narrative and try to amplify the narrative. Yeah. So much about finding alpha on Twitter. Quick question on like the meme culture, right? Like, what's your perspective on meme culture? Maybe you can start with Jordi, because he changed his profile into Puff the Dragon, right?
I mean, memes are, like I said, you know, so much of everything is around shared memes, shared understanding, and shared jokes, and kind of creating a feeling of community. And memes are so important to that. You're seeing every project adopt a Pepe now. They just change the color. There's like purple Pepes, you know, for Monad. There's orange Pepes, green, like, you know, everyone's got a different version, and it's because it's a shared meme, and it's, as long as you can make it look a little bit different than the other ones, you can still brand it.
Every layer 2 has a meme as well these days. Every layer 2 try to have a meme.
Every layer 2 is trying to have a meme.
Yeah.
It's more of a mascot, I would say, is the category. And maybe it's a good way to display the, you know, the feeling of that chain. Like if it's a panda, you know, then it's like a nice, comfortable chain, friendly chain. I don't know, scroll. So, you know, it's a way to come across with like shared values. And yeah, for that, I don't think there's anything better than memes, because ultimately the difference between, you know, crypto and Web2, you know, companies is this like huge, massive, like viral social element that you really need images and like this like shared common culture.
Agreed. Find it like pretty uniting, you know, and then it's like it doesn't require much brain power. Previously, people were like, you know, meme token is useless, but then we realized, you know, like so many people are into this, and who am I to judge if meme token is not useful or like no utility? It's entertaining. It has its own, you know, merits in uniting people together or sharing similar values, etc. Right? Yeah, I would love to learn like if Katz has a view on this meme culture, because he himself is kind of a meme also.
Yeah. Are we talking about like meme coins or?
Meme culture and also meme coins. Yeah.
Overall, I do think memes are great because it's very cross-cultural. As in, like, everyone can see an image and kind of share like the same emotions, and kind of get the same message from it. So yeah, I think it's great. I think I've tried to use it for myself. I don't know if you can call my character like a meme, but it's definitely kind of like a brand or so, which is like, or some kind of mascot, which is like something almost every project is having, or is probably gonna make one, right? And I do think meme coins are very like fascinating. They're like there is no one to sell this because there's no like investors or etc. But I don't think they're aware of like there could be like a lot of like snipers or early buyers or just like devs having like a bunch buying right after they launch or stuff like that. So like definitely like a lot of fraud is like going on there. And like it's funny when it goes up, and it's like not as funny when it's going down. But yeah, I guess I'm pretty excited to see like how a bunch of these tokens will perform over like another cycle, just because like I feel like Doge supply is like very decentralized, but every other meme coin so far pretty much popped off this cycle, so it's gonna be it could end up pretty bad if the whole like societal desperation bid goes away. Yeah.
Jordan, you wanted to say something?
I mean, yeah, I agree with everything CL said, and ultimately, you look at some of the discourse happening about meme coins on Twitter, and they're just assuming that there's wealth being created, and there's this like positive spin of like, oh, I just bought a house with my like meme coin, but a lot of these are obviously like zero sum. So if there's no plan, if there's no like sort of okay, like it's gonna grow up and it's $3 billion, but the liquidity is like 30 million. So who's gonna get it first? It just feels like the Olympus DAO stuff all over again, where it's just people pulling money together, and it's like who's gonna, grab it first, and then there's not gonna be enough seats for people at the end. So I think we're very early because people are still getting confused and thinking that there's actual wealth being created, when a lot of the time, if you zoom out, like the Bowden one is a great one where it is very funny. Like people enjoy it and it's entertaining, and I think it's great. But like either let's say he loses the election, or like something bad happens, he's old. Like what's going to be the value of that meme like in a year, right? And so like there's like this rush to the exit. So like CL said, I'm kind of like fascinated to see like how this kind of stuff plays out, and I'm kind of careful around which ones I actually touch.
Interesting, yeah. One question for CL, following question, right? So how come like you decide to portray yourself as a cat on Twitter? And also the following question for Hawk, right? For Benny, like why do you decide to be a hedgehog? Maybe CL can start first. How do you build a cartoon IP? It's pretty fascinating, and also cat has this plush, the toys, etc., and all sorts of like paintings, etc. It's pretty cute if you follow CL on Twitter, yeah. So cat.
Yeah, the art commissions is just a kind of like a side hobby, just because I became friends with a lot of artists, and I guess it may be like a generational difference, but I do think I appreciate like these type of things more than like a watch or a car. So I've definitely spent more money in getting art commissions and like these objects. And as for how to become a cat, there's just like many lores to it. And wait, how many minutes do we have left for this panel? But so when I was 2 years old, my mom went to a fortune teller, and the fortune teller told her that somehow I'll be well known, which it did happen. And then he also correctly predicted that I'll be a great writer, and I became a great shit poster. And he said, but there is something evil that's going after him, but this can be prevented if he has like a like if you give him like an adorable name. So she actually called me Cat as my nickname. So that's how it originally started. But then I think it was either Light Crypto or Trajan on the panel, Split Capital. I forgot who, but like one of them sent me a cat picture, and I was like, yeah, why have I not been a cat this whole time? So like I think 5 years ago I changed it.
Wow.
Yeah, I actually I was the one who sent CL like this cat profile picture with like
you are the one?
Yeah, with the Santa Claus hat like in 2019. And I used to talk to him. This is such a different time period, and it just kind of like ballooned from there. And it was like, I don't know, it was a different meme at the time altogether.
That's so cute. Benny, how do you come up with the hedgehog IP?
Mine's more boring. Before crypto, I used to trade government spreads, government bond spreads, and indices. So that's like long one thing and short the other thing. So we're always hedged, hence hedged hog. So yeah, I mean, I first debuted this username on like trading forums, Elite Trader, and Hot Copper, and all these other like trading forums. So if you Google hedgehog, you'll find some of my posts from back then. Yeah, and then it just kind of, spilled over to crypto. The reason why I like crypto is people base your contribution on your actual contribution, not who you are. So it was good to just tweet as an anonymous character, and people valued you for what you tweeted, not who you were. Yeah, so that's kind of how the brand built up. But everything was, is pretty authentic. It's like not putting on a character. It's just so happens that I prefer to tweet as Sonic the Hedgehog.
I love that. I love that. So I know, like these days, you don't try hard to gain followers at all. Like you don't need to. But being sort of an opinion leader is pretty strong, and I think many of our audience here, they also want to become an opinion leader and gain some followings on Twitter. Like you can be a KOL even if you only have 500 followers, if it's real, right? So I want to ask you guys gurus, like in using Twitter, how, maybe one or two sentence advice, how they can become, what's the suggestion for these aspiring KOLs? Maybe you can start with Jody? Yeah.
Yeah, interesting question. Not an easy one to answer, but I will say that I think I sort of backdoored my way into it, and I see that there's certain types of content that will get you more attention, more followers. I personally was just like posting trading content, which I never do anymore. So it's really strange to think about. Many years ago I was, trying to use that side of myself to, let's say, gain access to a broader audience. Even though I do trade and I am probably a pretty good trader, but I actually don't focus on it that much, and I don't like talking about my trades because I don't want people to follow them and etc. But the things that work are usually like threaders, researching a topic, and then it just looks high effort if you're putting it well together and it's like a long thread and you've researched something. So that's one way. Usually like the cheaper content, so like talking about like the latest meme coin or whatever is another way that, let's just call it, you can hoodwink people. They'll initially follow you because they think you're talking about whatever the current shitcoin is, but then you can hopefully give them more resourceful insights.
I agree, and I love that that we mentioned thread wars, because writing threads is one of the fastest ways I find like growing followings. Like I'm not usually that diligent, but sometimes when I do write threads and I just realize I have a couple hundred more new followers, etc. And then we help co-found a Threadware DAO. So some of the members start with 4K followers, but now they already have 24K followers, etc. Something like that. They grow within 2 months. So writing threads show efforts, and when your threads is actually informationally helpful, then people will want to follow. They will bookmark it. They might not even read the whole thing, but they think they will read it at some point. So you just naturally gain those the likes and also a follow, because they know they will come back later at some point for reference.
It's exactly how my Chrome tabs, I have 80 tabs, and I'm
Exactly.
sure I'm going to read them at some point, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. So here, how about you?
Yeah, I would probably just say don't try to be famous at all if you can.
Oh.
I'm not saying that I am at all, for what it's worth. I've just been around on Twitter and just posted random content. The funny thing is, none of us four actually ever post about trading anymore. We do very seldom, but I'll just post about how I think about a spot, not really about direction or anything like that. Because, and I know this is probably true for the rest of these guys, it's like you don't want the burden of other people taking the same trade as you, because we do move in and out and things like that. But I would say, generally speaking, just be as authentic as possible. I think if you're trying to sell something to someone, like they will always understand that you're trying to sell it to them. And ultimately, like, you know, a high quality thread from Jordy or you know, Bainey or CL will get way more engagement than like most other, you know, random
like
threads about no, but like most other random threads about like things that are unimportant. You know, and it's like GCR is a great example of this. I don't know if you guys follow this guy, but like, you know, he hasn't tweeted in more than
market.
I mean, he hasn't tweeted in like, you know, 7-8 months or something like that, maybe even longer, a year, and doesn't have the highest following count, maybe 300,000. It's not that much. But still got like, you know, like millions of impressions on his tweet because it's just high quality and people can understand that he's being authentic generally. And, you know, when you just consistently post good things, like people will kind of reflectively want that. So just keep it as authentic as possible. I think that's the best way, and use it as a platform to collaborate on ideas and put yourself out there. I met all three of these guys online many years ago around, you know, an anonymous profile as well, to what Bainey was saying earlier. So it's super valuable to just be able to collaborate with people, but the high quality people that you get to interact with will understand if it's just BS threading or, you know, legitimate content.
Agreed. And then also just a tip for, you know, some either founders or KOLs to be that don't buy followers or don't like get fake engagement, because that will just like the way the algorithm works is if it's like your visibility will get lower if it's not like you buy followers, you get fake engagements. So don't do that. And then like if you have good engagement in your account, even though you only have like, you know, 1,000 followers, you might get 10K, you know, impressions easily. So yeah, being genuine rewards this way, and also from like more AI, say, this computing way. Yeah. So Hawk, what's your suggestion?
Yeah, I mean, Zahir pretty much nailed it. I guess it depends on what sort of KOL you want to be. I think, as to his point, we all met online. We all met because our content was pretty genuine. We tweeted, you know, not just to tweet. Maybe except for CL, he tweets just to tweet. But you know, most of us is tweeting like quality content. I think, you know, being a KOL.
What do you mean?
I mean, yeah, it depends really what you're trying to get out of being a KOL. For me, it was really just to make connections. I really never sold anything, you know, never had a ref link or anything. So it was really just trying to make like connections. And I think Twitter is a really good, it's almost like a body of work for people in crypto. A lot of like thoughts and stuff you can find on their Twitter. And that's what makes Twitter a really good resource. And I think, you know, going back to the previous question, actually, like the biggest alpha of Twitter is really like vetting people based on like what they say and what they think and, you know, how, yeah, that's the biggest alpha. And for us, like we've hired a lot of people off Twitter based on, you know, 2 of our analysts are from Twitter, like, you know, some of our strategy guys are from Twitter. And this is all based on, you know, me following them, me kind of like reading their content and going, yeah, you know, this is, you know, someone that we'd be interested in working with. So either ends up, you know, we just become friends and just chat, you know, on Telegram or Discord, or, you know, we end up actually working together and, you know, hiring them. Yeah, so that's my opinion on Twitter and being a KOL there.
Yeah, it's like a proof of work, right? When people try to apply to Sharding Capital, I was just like, what's your Twitter link? And when they say, oh, I forgot my password, I was like, this is an NGMI.
That's a red flag.
Exactly, yeah. So Kat, what's your suggestion for aspiring KOLs?
Yeah, I think what the friends said have nailed it too. Like you pretty much have to be genuine. If you like start shilling, like start getting paid to like talk about stuff, I think it doesn't take more than one or two like of these posts to be very, very obvious. And it's like everyone who can tell will kind of talk about it behind your back even, and be like, wow, this guy is like obviously not very reliable if he is like taking these payments just to talk about specific projects, right? Because yeah, so I think like you can go that route if like you want to, but I think if you really want to make it like very far and be connected to like some of the higher, like more made it kind of people, I think this is like not like shelling and stuff is not the right strategy for sure.
Thank you, Kat. Yeah, I think there's a balance because all these speakers here, they are very well established, so they are like taking more like not as aggressive. What I found interesting is that because we invest into quite some project, whenever I share a tweet about certain project, then their project like followers will just try to follow me, and then when I talk about another project, they will also try to follow me. So I think some KOLs also using this strategy when they tweet about Pepe, when they tweet about Slurp, when they tweet about like Toncoin, etc., they get certain followers. They just farm here and there to get more users, and which I think is okay. Maybe in the early stage you just need to trial and error and then see what's helpful. It's a open stage for everyone to try out. Yeah. But this is a very helpful discussion, and I also learned so much from it. Hopefully, I will be as big as you guys soon, like 50K. Yeah, but I hope like everyone here also learned a great deal from this panel discussion. Thank you, Kat, for calling in from the sky, from New Zealand. He's in New Zealand. Then thank you, everyone. Let's give a round of applause for our panelists. Yeah.